So yeah, hopefully you may have had the chance to read the speaker's pack. My name's Neil Edmonds, BT Facility Service Operations Director as of the beginning of the year. For 17 years, up until 2006, I was on the receiving end of workplace and facilities management services, because I was just in what I considered to be a business. It happened to be ExxonMobil for most of that career, or all of that career. And I don't really think I gave a second thought, really, to what was happening around me. It was just one of those things that I expected to work when I wanted it to work. And then in 2006, I moved into outsourcing services. I've joined Johnson Controls, looking after the global Shell retail account. And then I've gone on a few, sort of, feels like a bit of career hops. Some time with HSBC, a year with Mace, and then met up with the Managing Director of Corporate Services in BT a little way through last year, as they started to talk about their journey with the organisation that was then delivering their FM services. And it was just too good an opportunity to pass up, really, because of the excitement that was in his eyes and the sort of thing that he was looking for us to take the business forward. And show you a little bit about BT. And I'm assuming that most people live in a house. And around the corner, would you recognise the BT Exchange? It's that lovely concrete-clad building, yeah? A few hundred, maybe a few thousand square feet. It's got an open-reach van parked outside. Well, we maintain all of these. So a spattering of the properties that we have. 7,400 if we include Ireland now, and Northern Ireland and Republic. 80,000 people in BT come in and out of those to differing degrees. We have the flagship ones, which I intentionally didn't put up there, actually, because every time we talk about BT, there's always a bloody picture of the BT Tower. And very few people actually work in the BT Tower. And I think, though, wasn't there a video? Do we have a night shot of going over the top of the BT Tower in London? Maybe I imagined it, because I just... but you've got call centres. I guess most people know that, a lot of the 999 call centres are run by BT, BT Sport. You can see the great places we create for some of our people to work in right now. We're very good at football, by the way, because we don't let in any goals. Exactly, yeah. Best practice. We don't let efficiency get in everything we do. But a lot of the call centres now are selling BT Sport. So it's a broad spectrum of the property we own, or predominantly lease, actually, hence the relationship with Telereal. Back to the legacy decisions that BT had to make a few years ago about releasing cash and equity. BT Centre and St Paul's, and then a variety. Most people probably wouldn't recognise that one there on the second one in from the left. Anyone know it? Apart from the three people that were connected to BT that might know it. Well done, that man. Prize. If I had one, I'd give you one. Martlesham Heath, otherwise known as Adastral Park in BT, where I'm reliably informed the first PC and fibre optic was invented. So, a fairly iconic building in BT terms, in the Ipswich area. Not the easiest place to get to, but an amazing place when you actually look at the sort of the people that work there. That is where you get some very, very diverse individuals in our organisation. Definitely working on the left and the right-hand side of the brain. But nevertheless, a key, I think it's about 7,000 people that work in an Adastral Park, massive acreage and complex, with what looks like something that should actually be sat at an airport with the conning tower there. That one in the middle there just looks like a warehouse. That's actually now iCity, which is where BT Sport broadcasts from. So I think the second largest broadcast centre in Europe now, purpose-built for BT Sport. And you've probably seen some of the images. One of those things that actually, small that it is in space terms, and actually how we service it, but a real shot in the arm for the people that work inside BTFS, because we're delivering something that's very diverse, very different. And we're proud of that, and that's something that actually we take our time to push and ensure that everyone in our BTS business gets to hear about. Needless to say, every building is different, a myriad of customers in there, but they all expect the same thing from us. It's clean, it's safe, it's secure. And I would like to say, we sit there and we develop what we believe is a great place to work. But having myself worked in HSBC and a few other iconic corporate offices, then I'm not going to stand here in front of you and say walking around some of the BT office space, it leaves me feeling exactly the same way, because it doesn't. But those are conscious decisions that the business has taken over the years, slowly beginning to address it. But you will see some of the solutions that we've put in place to get to that point are probably low investment. You don't see much room booking, desk booking in BT. That's just not the way things get done. So in terms of the people, I have to, I'm here celebrating what they do. Without them, I'm not here, but they probably would exist if I wasn't here. A full range of services, throwing in the, what we do and celebrate as a team in terms of what we do to support the communities. But I'll talk about our chosen charity in a bit more in terms of how we celebrate around that. But it's the full cradle to grave, end-to-end, hard stroke, soft services, and client services. So the only ones that we don't touch or we just subcontract through is catering and changing the lights at the top of the BT tower, because that's a little bit dangerous. And we've given someone, in fact, that I know is not the housekeeper who is actually cleaning the podium in front of the stage, but it's one of those rare places where they fight to do it. Because it's, wow, can I go do that? Can I mop the floor? And can I do it when Claire Balding sat there as well, please? Huh?
Practice their pole dance.
Yes, I'm not saying that. You said that, okay? So I've got 3 examples now of how we have worked with the business and are working with the business for the BT estate. And I've split the estate into 3. And the first one here relates to the operational estate, which is predominantly OpenReach and an organisation or a part of BT called TSO, which is the slightly more technical end that look after all the frames, the switch rooms, so where all the wires terminate. These guys, as you can probably imagine, use and abuse space, and hence why those are the sort of slightly base posters that we have to put out. One of the fascinating things of working with OpenReach, and I think it just demonstrates how circular our whole problem is that we had a meeting recently where OpenReach have launched a system called, or a program called Adopt and Exchange, and there's an alternative to it called Pride of Patch. And this was about them internally trying to get the business to reconnect, because these aren't really recognised as workplaces, but there's 5,500 of them out there in the UK, and nearly every one of them has an engineer going to day in, day out to use the welfare space, to pick up emails, to do stuff. And we were talking to the project manager within OpenReach, and he said, well, what about the posters out there? And I shared that poster. And the project manager said, that's fantastic. When are we going to put that out? That's been in the workplace for 5 years. Yeah, and it was a real sort of, I said it was a seminal moment. I was sitting there going, it's one of the challenges, isn't it, when the organisation gives new projects to new project managers who haven't necessarily seen things, tested things, gone out in the workplace, and recognise that it actually hasn't really been delivering what it was expected to deliver. Yeah, the don't step over the problem. One of the unfortunate legacies of BT pushing its cost to serve right down is it has created a little bit of a culture where people do step over the problem. They won't actually report in issues, faults, be them reactive or otherwise, simply because it's become accepted that that's what it looks like. So we've got a real change agenda on our hands to get people to accept that that's not right. And then the one that came out recently, this has actually only gone on to the workplace walls in the last week. And unfortunately, it's another example of something that actually I sit here today and say is not as positive as I'd like it to be, because all the way through BT, you'll see the 0800 number, 222. Yeah, that's the property help desk. That's what we own, what we run. And it should always say, phone the property help desk. But it doesn't, because what it's not doing is it's not reinforcing what we are and who we are and why we're there. Also, what was interesting, this came out of the energy and carbon unit within PT. Notice it doesn't talk about reporting faults if they don't turn on. Yeah? Only if they turn off. And the logic was that they were only interested in energy saving. And it was such a challengeable point for them to take, but just illustrated how much work we've got to do to sort of get into an organisation as big and as diverse as that, to ensure that when we're putting stuff out there, we're a lot more consistent in how we're doing it. I'm not trying to present a negative image, it's just that's the reality of what we're dealing with. Now, we talked about call centres, and Nev, I guess, is far more qualified than me in call centre space. But here you see a vibrancy and a difference in how we communicate with the demographic that exists there. And one of the challenges that BT's got is that it has call centres everywhere, because one of the property efficiencies was, rather than building flagship call centres, which it has in Doncaster and Gosforth, it is actually to put them into old telephone exchanges, which were never designed to be call centres. But that's where we've got them. But what you'll see is a lot of these call centres, they have what they call the site standards, which we contributed to, the behaviours and what we expected, how we expected people to behave in there. But every single one of them is slightly personalised. Interesting, in Doncaster, you're allowed to eat sweets at the desk, but in Truro, you're not. That sort of diversification has crept into this, just to personalise it a little bit. But there's a slightly cartoony feel to this, which you don't necessarily see in other lines of business, which is just stuff that we work with. And then the last one is the slightly more traditional office space. Some people in this room, may have BT up there as that pioneering the flexible work. Actually, within its own workspace, it takes quite a little bit more of a no frills, low investment approach. I think there is no desk booking that I'm aware of, and the room booking is it's an old version of, I think, Condeco from many years, which not much investment has gone into it, because actually BT doesn't seem to use office or room booking as much as I probably thought it did. So instead, what you get with BT and Workspace is the thing called WorkSmart, which is a lot more around the branding and around these sort of things here, which are only about so big in the real world, and they're just desk indicators. And that's the cloth that BT has cut, and our response in terms of providing facility service that accordingly is, again, getting our telephone number on there. There's a few other numbers for IT LAN support, and to ensure that when the messaging goes out, that we are visible, we're recognised as being part of that delivery. Now, the bit that runs underneath all of that is how our technical and soft and hard services work, irrespective of the workplace. There we go. Communication, engagement, call it whatever you will. I'm beginning to wind down now. We are massively into leaderships who inspire and motivate. That's a picture of Martin Steele, who's the MD of Corporate Services. What a pleasure to work for an MD who is running, I have to say at times, way faster than the organisation is able to keep up with. But that type of environment, when managed well by leadership around him, is incredibly rewarding and productive for us, because we actually feel that we've got somewhere to go. There's an ambition. So BT Today, which is one of the main magazines that goes out every 2 months with the entire Newton and operational workforce, is getting the message out about what BT is doing and bringing it in-house. So promoting the relevance of our service offering, actively seeking out the business leaders who rely on our workplace services. Every single one of the managing directors within the BT business before BTFS came in-house did a video segue about why it was important to their business. A little bit dangerous, because it set some pretty high expectations from some of the MDs, because some of them, quite honestly, didn't really understand the services they were getting before. So their expectation of what they were getting in the future is something that we've had to manage pretty actively. But we target everyone with equal measure. To me, it's no different whether or not it's one of my technical managers leading a few hundred engineers to a housekeeper a mobile housekeeper who's travelling around the UK visiting some of those 5,500 exchanges. Showcasing and shouting about our achievements, a little bit of the articles we do here. We've got to be consistent. We say what we're going to go do, and then we go do it. The champions who champion our cause, that's back to the business leads as well, about making sure there are people within the lines of business who do appreciate what we do, and they go back to the BT values, and they're calling out the people that are either performing or behaving or not behaving. And then, training to empower, but to engage and to talk. It goes back to my balloon example. It was one of those moments when I sort of had a cold reflection about whether or not just writing words on a PowerPoint that I'm empowering you as an organisation just wasn't enough. I needed to do more. I need to do more to engage with people around that. So the leave behinds, take time to understand what you've done before. It's very relevant to where you're going. And most of the people that were there, that you've got today, were part of that. The worst thing you can go do is just go say that what you did before wasn't good enough. Targeting the investment in the people and the supporting functions, we put a hell of a lot into our people. The most obvious thing did was around the national living wage, but also I think the learning and development, I hope that in 6-12 months we're winning awards for what that's doing to our business. You may have a nice car, but without sat-nav or a map and a driver, you're going nowhere. So if I put myself in the position of trying to be that driver, I think we've built some very, very solid foundations. We do know where we're going, but from a leadership perspective and just making sure that we get people along with us and I'm ready to take them on that journey, then I need to sharpen my game and make sure that I'm up there. I don't have a bad day. Understanding the business and the people that you serve, clearly essential. We invest a lot of time making sure we understand BT. We are far from there. Every day we think we crack it, there's going to be something that comes out of the business just to demonstrate how wide and diverse it is. But if we position ourselves confidently, clearly, often that is now saying no. I don't think Monterey had felt that. Contractually, it was allowed to say no. But we don't have those constraints anymore, so we say no. And engagement at all levels. So we're fighting time to get to see the MDs of the business. The CEO of Openreach, I think, just voted as one of the 40 under 40s. A pretty inspirational leader for that business, considering how her career has grown within the organisation, is getting time with people like that and then just talking about what we do. We haven't yet quite got around to the video, though. I do like the video. So that's me. Any questions?